Today we are going to be learning how to render using an exterior rendering software, and the rendering software of our choice today is going to be Enscape. So as you can see, we already have a building. We have a building fully designed and detailed, and we've done our landscape, but we didn't add any trees, and I'll show you why. So what we're going to do is we're going to add trees from Archicad, then we're going to add trees from Enscape, and then we're going to see the difference. So we'll go to Archicad. We're going to go to objects. Then from there we are going to type in our trees. Then we're going to use Archicad trees. So let's use common everyday trees. Let's use this one. Okay. Then we're going to place it here. I'm going to place one here. Now as you can see in Archicad, these trees are appearing wonderful. They look nice in Archicad, and they look somehow rendered, but not too rendered. Then I'm going to place Enscape trees. Like I said, we're going to be learning how to use Enscape. We're going to use Enscape trees. So we go to vegetation. As you can see, Enscape gives you a lot of vegetation, and it gives you a human figure to give you the size and proportions of the trees you're going to be using. So let's use normal everyday trees. Let us use, these ones are too big. Let us use the one that is okay or looks reasonable. Let us work with this. As you can see, it's coming out as a 3D blob on Enscape. That is because on Archicad, Archicad cannot fully show Enscape trees. But we're going to compare the two. We're going to compare the two trees and the exterior rendering software. So we're going to launch Enscape now. To launch Enscape, you're going to click on here, Start Enscape, and then it's going to load Enscape. Enscape has loaded, and so we are going to make sure to link the views. So we're going to click here, synchronize views, and the views are going to be synchronized. So we're going to have to divide our screens into two. To do that, you're going to drag Enscape to the corner, and it's going to give you this snap-in window, and then you're going to bring Archicad. You can see the two of them are perfectly snapped in. So whatever you do on Archicad will affect Enscape. So we're going to move out to Enscape. As you can see, the trees that were placed on Archicad are not fully recognized. As you can see, Enscape doesn't know how to render the trees, and it's not the same. Lumion and Atlantis will also give you the same problem, where you find out that the trees you placed are not properly rendered. But on the other hand, you can see that Enscape trees are rendered very well, and even move as you move the camera around. So you can see that this is why most people don't usually use Archicad's assets when they are rendering. So with that explanation out of the way, we're going to go back to Archicad, and we're going to have to fully furnish or fully place objects in this landscape, so that we can then render. And we're going to be using Enscape assets for the reason explained before. We're going to be deleting all these trees. Okay, now we're going to be placing Enscape assets now. So we're going to start by placing the trees. So we're going to place trees here. I'm going to be placing trees. So we're going to work with this. Place some here. Place some here. Place some here. Place some. Okay, place a few here. I'm going to be placing cars too. So we go to vehicles, and then we can see a lot of beautiful and wonderful vehicles. So we're going to use this one. We're going to first place the car, and we're going to have to make the car to face the proper orientation. So as you can see, the car is facing up, so we're going to have to make it face the right place. So Control E to rotate, and then we select the axis, and then we can rotate the car to how you want it to be. Okay, so from here we set the distance from the ground. You can see I've set it to -600. Then we're going to have to place the cars in the right place. So we're going to place one here, and place another one here. Then for effects, we can place another one here. Nope, let us use a different car. Let us use a different car to give that sense of realism. So we'll have to, let us pick a random car. Let's say this one. No, I've used white before. Let's use this SUV. We'll place this here, and we can then set the distance from the ground like I said earlier. So that will be minus 600. Like, the distance from the ground is going to vary depending on what you set. So we can place this here. And now let us look at it in 3D. As you can see, Archicad does not fully recognize Enscape assets, but don't worry. On Enscape, these assets are going to be beautiful. Now we are going to place Archicad human beings and Enscape humans beside, so you the viewer can judge and see which one is better. So Archicad gives you this gives you humans, but so Archicad gives you people, but they are not usually as well rendered as those found in exterior rendering programs like Lumion, Enscape, and Atlantis. But let's use this man walking for Archicad. We set the height, the distance from the ground as usual. So this is minus 600, and then let's just place one here, and then let us get one from Enscape. So we have people. So let us use a man walking to, okay, a woman walking. Let us use let me just put him here where it's more realistic. Okay, then let us use Enscape assets. So we're going to go to people, and then let us use a woman walking, since we used a man walking before. Remember, distance from the grounds, you have to pick let's place. Okay, so remember, distance from the ground minus 600. This is for this drawing. I've said this before, but for people that are just joining us now, if we go to the 2, you can see that the Archicad does not fully recognize this, but you can see that even the one that Archicad recognizes is not well detailed. But if we should move over to Enscape, you can see that the Enscape human, or the lady on Enscape, is well rendered and well detailed than what we have on Archicad. So this is why most people don't use Archicad assets. You can see the cars, even without rendering them, you can see how beautiful they look. The cars have not been rendered. You can see the trees, you can see the landscape, you can see that it's looking wonderful, even without us doing any form of rendering. Now you can see that the tree is floating. If you recall earlier, we did not actually set the distance from ground level for the trees. So we're going to now we're going to have to select the trees. We're going to have to select the trees. So we'll select the trees, and we're going to have to set the distance from ground level. So we have here minus 600. So it will bring them to the ground. You can see they are where they should be. Now Enscape offers what we call real-time rendering. Now the difference between real-time rendering and post-rendering is that Archicad offers you post-rendering, meaning that this building now, if you should render it on Archicad, this is not how it's going to come out. It's going to come out more realistic. For instance, now if I want to render this, which I believe we've done in our previous videos, you go here and you go to Windows, platelets, and then you see here photo rendering settings. This allows you to render on Archicad, but you agree with me that this building is not going to come out the way here is looking cartoonish, but once you render it, it begins to give you that photorealistic look. But on Enscape, it gives you real-time rendering, meaning that as you move around, it renders it. So no matter what, you can even screenshot this and send to the client without going through the whole rendering process. It renders it in real time. You can see you can see the reflection on the cars. The reflection on the cars, it is being rendered in real time. You can see it's moving in real time. So you don't have to press render and look at it again, and press render and look at it again and press render. It's the same thing with light. If I should switch over, Archicad, light doesn't come on until you render, but in Enscape, since it does real-time rendering, you can even see how your lights look like. So to switch over to night on Enscape, you hold your shift, you right click, and then you move the mouse. So if I move the mouse like this, you can see I'm going to night. You can see that all the lights in the building came on. So you can tell that this is how my lights are going to look like. Now if there were exterior lights on this building, they would come on, and you'll be able to see how the lights look without actually rendering it. So these are the benefits of using exterior rendering softwares like Enscape and Lumion and 5D render. All these softwares will be taught. So subscribe for more, or if you want to learn more. So we're going to have to go back to the morning time. So I think we are done. This is not going to be an in-depth rendering, but I think we are done. So we just have to delete this human. We just have to delete this Archicad, or we'll just leave it in for effect. So now we're going to have to choose our view. So I think this view is okay. This view here is okay. Now we're going to have to go to the settings, our settings. So in order for us to set, wait, let me get the view I want. So I think this view is okay. So let us get a nice view on Archicad. Remember, it's synchronized, so whatever we do here will also take place on Archicad. So let's get this view. Let's get this view. Then we're going to have to shift 3 to give us this view. Okay, so I think this is it. You can see on Enscape it has automatically done it for us. Remember, it's synchronized, so whatever we do on Archicad it will also happen on Enscape. You can see real-time rendering, you can see the shadows, you can even see the movement of the trees, the movement of the grasses too. If you look at the grass, you can tell the movement. So we're also going to have to set the daytime. Now in rendering, lighting matters, so we're going to have to get the lighting that gives us the mood. But first of all, we're going to have to set a lot of things. So if this was Lumion gives you a better rendering option. I don't know how to put this, but like in rendering they are the same, but Lumion gives you variety. Meanwhile, I can set contrasts, I can set other things, but Enscape is more, because Enscape is lighter, it's more minimalist. So let's go to visual settings. Now this is where we get to set things like exposure, depth of field, and rendering quality. So we're going to take it to ultra. Depending on your system settings, please, if your system cannot handle it, I won't advise you to go to ultra. It weighs down the system. Now we're going to have to exposure. Exposure is most like the brightness. If you're dealing with cameras, if you lower the exposure, it lowers the brightness of the image. Now if you increase the exposure, increase the brightness of the image. Now most images are usually overexposed. Most rendering, like with some rendering softwares, you get overexposed images, but with this you can reduce the exposure a little to give you that realistic view. Then you can go to images, you can set the highlights and shadows. Now the highlights right now are the corners of the building. If I increase the highlights, the corners and joints will become more vivid. You can see them well now. Let me zoom in to give you that so you can get it well. You can see the corners are well, they are shown well. But if I reduce the highlights, I don't know, you can't fully tell here, but you can see that if I use the highlights, the building, the joints and the rest become less prominent. So you can increase the highlights a little. I like my shadows being vivid. I don't know for you, I like my shadows being vivid. The saturation is, you can never have too much of saturation, but so I make the building a little bit saturated just to give the colors, for the colors to come out, that you can see the colors that started coming out, for the colors to get that rich rich color feel. Now we're in photography, we have what we call color temperature. Now some for instance, the color temperature for sunset is usually warm. That is when you get that orange tint. Then the color temperature for evening is usually cool, where it gives you that bluish feel. So if you see color temperature here, if I reduce it, the building turns, you get this orange feel. It feels like the sun is setting. But if I bring it up, it turns blue, so you feel like this is prime afternoon. This is afternoon at its peak. So you can let us leave it this way. Now we have lens flare. Lens flare is if you watch football, when the sun rays hits the camera, you get this bubble. You see this refraction of light that happens on the lens of the camera. That is what lens flare is. But all this can be seen if the sun is facing the lens directly, but for our case the sun is not, so there is no need to set any of this. Now we can go to atmosphere. Now atmosphere, you can increase, this is fog, you can increase the fog a little bit to give that, because there is nothing that sees camera this, there's no camera that can see a building this clear. So you can just give that small fog, but not too much that it blocks the building. Now you can reduce the height of the fog so it doesn't cover the building too much. Then you can, this is sun brightness and the rest. I don't think we should, let's increase sun brightness a little. You can never have too much sun. Then the sky is very important, because 60% of your building is going to, 60% of your rendering is going to be showing the sky. So you're going to have to set the clouds. You can set the density. Let me shift this away from here so you can see what we are doing. So you can see the density of the clouds. I can add more clouds to make the image look more and more realistic. Then you can add variety. I'm not here to teach you clouds and shape, but you can add variety. Like you can make the clouds more randomized and let's say more realistic, because in real life you don't have one cloud, and I think there are many, stratocumulus and the rest, I'm not too sure, but in real life you don't just have one cloud, you have many. Now these are contrails, longitude and latitude. It's something I would like to advise in rendering. It's not a must to set everything. You set rendering to give you the feel you want. For instance, now this longitude and latitude, this affects the position of the clouds in real time. But I would advise you, if you truly do not know what you're setting, you can leave it. It's not a crime. It's not a must you overset. Like in terms of my saturation and increase, it's based on what I want. There are some images I like undersaturated. For instance, there's some views I may like to undersaturate. It gives you that pale black and whitish feel. There's some images I may like to oversaturate to gives you that rich color. But to avoid looking too cartoonish and too, like for instance, now it's oversaturated. You can see that the colors are now looking too poppy. It's no longer pleasing to the eye. So to avoid your rendering, to avoid spoiling the rendering, you do not overset. It's good to set, but anything that you don't understand or you're not sure of, I'll advise you to leave it. So I think we are almost done, or I think we are done. Now you can now set your resolution high. You can now set all this. It depends on what you want. I usually save my rendering as PNG, because JPG is an outdated picture format. JPG doesn't usually have as much detail as RAW and PNG. Some photographers and graphic designers here will understand. PNG is usually better in saving images, because if you use CorelDRAW, you notice that sometimes if you save a picture as JPG, it tends to lose the exact color you gave it. I may be confusing some people here, but that's just my personal opinion. So I can go back. I think I need to change the saturation a bit. I think I'm just looking. I think it's these clouds. I forgot to change the clouds back. Let me change clouds to avoid it looking too well, let's say too moody, as if it's about to rain. Yeah, I think this is okay. It gives you the afternoon vibe. That's what we're trying to go for. And then we can now hit render. So this is render. So if you press this, it will do what we call screenshots, where it renders the screen area that we are working with. Then if you click batch render, this batch render allows you to create different views of the building, and then you can now render those subsequent views as you want. I'll show you this with Lumion. Lumion is where I can explain this better. In Lumion, I can create different views and render it as much as I want. Then this is video rendering. If I want to create a video rendering, I can use this. So now let us render this. So for this, I'll try to let me just adjust the day a little. Let me add a little. Okay, I think this is better. Yeah, this is better. So with this, now you press here, render, and then it's going to start rendering. So we're going to have to save it. So we're going to name it tutorial or test one. Let's say test one. Okay, for those of you that may be wondering how am I going to download Enscape, and where can I get Enscape? we are going to upload a video, or there's a video on this channel that talks about how you can download Enscape and get the assets offline. So subscribe to watch that video. Okay, rendering has been done. So as you can see, this is what we were able to create now. This is what we're able to create now. Now this is just with minimal setting. This is just with minimal. You can see the building is looking more realistic and looking better than something Archicad could give you. Look at the cars, look at the reflection of the cars. We can see that this is a wonderful and a beautiful rendering. Now if you want more in-depth renderings, tutorial on Enscape or on Lumion to give you that vibrant and that realistic view, so subscribe, because we'll be going in depth. Thank you.